Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. The scenario is a one-shot. Hand of Glory was written by Alan Carey, and it's available from Chaosium on the Miskatonic repository. I am the Game Master, and this is our second version. So without any further delay, let's begin our journey into the darkness. Right, the five of you belong to a Ramblers Club. I believe you call yourself the North Yorkshire Ramblers. You have arrived a few hours ago, and you've gone for a long walk. You're a couple of hours into the walk. The countryside is lovely. It's the moors. There's wildflowers growing. It's late June. The bees are buzzing and the birds are singing in the trees that are there. And you've finished lunch, and you didn't have much. You just brought some crackers and some fruit. And as you're walking along, you see slowly building up along the horizon some storm clouds. And you don't think much of it at first, but very quickly, within the space of 20 minutes, the clear sky is gone. This is England. The sky is filled with clouds, and a few light sprinkles are starting to fall. It's not cold, but you're going to end up getting pretty wet.
Oh, this is just our luck. Should have brought an umbrella. I said we should have brought umbrellas.
Are you not an Englishman? Have some constitution about yourself. This is expected weather.
It is. It's not exactly the most ideal situation, but we'll be fine. I promise you that.
I'm just as English as the rest of you, even though I'm using an American accent. But still doesn't mean I enjoy getting my suit wet.
Let me see if I at least have a newspaper or something you can use. Digging in pack. Yes, here we are. This will keep the rain off you at least for a little while.
As you walk a little farther on, you notice up ahead in the distance, there seems to be an inn of some sort. Now, it's kind of unusual that there'd be an inn out here, but you have seen the remnants of old coach tracks. So this is probably an old coach's inn where a stagecoach would have stopped. Now, that's probably long over, but the place has lights on. And as you get closer to it, you can see there is a sign. It says Witch Elm Pub, and it's right on the edge of a large stand of trees, a bit of forest. And about that time, the light drizzle turns into very large raindrops coming down on you.
Bother.
Last one to the pub buys the first round.
That will certainly not.
See, Dan, you don't have to worry. England always provides.
Pubs aplenty, I suppose.
No matter if I'm buying or you're buying, I'm still drinking you all under the table. Let's go.
So as you run up, you can hear some light music coming from inside. You can see that other people have placed their walking sticks or whatever next to the door. You guys probably have walking sticks. You open the door, and you're immediately hit by the smell of baking bread and what smells like, pork pies. There's a little bit of a din of noise from the inside as you step inside. And there are, maybe 20 people or so inside. They all immediately go completely quiet, and they turn around and they look at you for what feels like a long time. And then they go back to what they're doing. Man behind the bar comes over to you and he says, what'll you have, friends? You can take a seat over there if you want. What can I get
Very
for you?
obliged.
I'd love a
thank you.
pint of stout, please.
All right.
A pint as well, thank you. A
it
warm
around.
reception. A warm reception, I should say.
Oh, don't mind them. They're just taking it easy today.
I'm
And
alive.
is that a pork pie I smell cooking?
Yeah, we've got
Use
pork
a spot.
pies and we got fresh bread.
Oh, lovely. Both, please.
And for you, sir?
Nothing for me right now, thanks.
All right. Something to drink? It's been a warm day. Water?
Water would be lovely, thank you.
All right. So he takes all of your orders.
Yeah.
And you guys are sitting there. Which would you like to do while you're sitting there? It'll be a few minutes before he brings your stuff over.
Probably wring out my hair a little bit and my hat. And then once I get that all situated, making sure all my things are in order.
Excellent. I'd like to cast my eyes on the walls and on top of the bar, keeping an eye out for anything that's large and looks antique-y, for want of a better term.
Yes.
Well, it seems like a lot of the decor in here is old. There's a few new things. It looks like they have electricity, though you don't see any phone line or anything like that way out here in the moors. He looks like he's got quite a selection of whiskey and lots of beer, different kinds of beer.
Audrey, you're looking for things to acquire.
Business never stops, my dear. Business never stops.
Agreed. I've made some of my best bargains at a place like this, although they tend to be used, well worn.
That's quite understandable. I don't find.
I was going to say, do you find new antiques often? Seems like a bit of an oxymoron to me.
Well, I don't find many items from my trade here, but in places like this. But oftentimes, I might find a don or two willing to part with a volume if I'm lucky.
Since you do trade in selling paper with ink on them, how much did this newspaper run you? I fear it's entirely ruined now.
Oh, probably just at most a shilling. Probably half that, most likely.
All right.
Don't worry so much. Don't worry so much, Dan. All right.
He brings your food and your drinks.
Then you're sure you don't want to have something to eat, or at least a little bit to drink.
It's the best in the country. My wife's made it fresh this morning.
Well,
How does it smell?
Can I get you anything else?
actually, could you get me a little bit of tea and some biscuits, please?
Sure.
Given this lovely smell coming from my friend's plate over there, I think I might like a pork pie, please.
Good. So he brings you whatever you want. Everybody, Do a spot hidden.
Spot hidden.
I succeeded.
Failure from me.
Regular.
Regular.
Hard.
28 is a hard success.
Okay. Well, for Patty especially, as you're looking around, you do notice a lot of gewgaws and things like that. Things probably from who knows where, collected and on shelves and on in various cabinets and things like that. Mostly just for decoration. There's of course a dart board for people to play darts, though nobody's playing darts at the moment. The rest of you who notice, you notice that you get the odd impression that people are glancing at you occasionally and then whispering back and forth, to one another. At first, it just seems normal, but after a while, it becomes really apparent that maybe they're just not used to seeing strangers out here. These are probably all local people. They're not dressed, they're dressed like regular farmers and stuff like that. They're not unfriendly, but they seem to be curious about you. So you've all got your food and your drinks, and you sit there for a while. The pork pie is delicious, and the ale and the tea is well made and everything. You sit there for about 20 minutes, or maybe longer than that, maybe 40 minutes. You can hear the rain pelting outside, and of course it's gotten gloomy, looking through the windows. About that time, you notice the bartender. By the way, he introduced himself as Addison Boulder. And he's the owner. You see him pull out a little bench from behind the bar and stand up on top of it. And he reaches up onto an upper shelf, and he pulls down a little glass. It's like the kind you would see an old clock in, little bell like this. He pulls it down, and it's got something inside of it. You don't really see it very clearly, but he sets it on the bar, and he lifts the glass off of it, and he strikes up a match and brings it up, and you see that it's a candle. And it's a candle in the shape of a hand with one finger up like this. And he's lighting the little wick that's sticking out the finger. And as he lights it, he looks around the room and he says, all right, everybody, last call.
What an interesting method. Most pubs ring a bell.
Well,
but not at this time.
It's also like 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And we're going to have to go out in the
This is
rain.
an interesting custom. Whoa.
That's an
Anybody
odd-looking
knows it?
candle.
I kind of tilt my head like I'm trying to make sense of this because as Charlie mentioned, it's way too early for last call, and what even is that?
You, as you say, you tilt your head, and you actually hit your head on the post in the booth that you're sitting in, and it's almost like you moved farther than you'd intended to. And you start to realize that you're oddly dizzy, and everybody else, you also start to feel oddly dizzy. And as you look down towards the food that you've just eaten and the tea that you've drank, all of the people in the bar are starting to slowly rise as everything goes black.
Oh no.
The
When
character
they say
deaths in
stout, they
5
mean
minutes.
stout.
That was quick.
There are sounds. You
How much can we do or see? I mean, how incapacitated are we?
you're completely blacked out.
Okay.
So now you're starting to come around very, very gradually. The first thing you notice is that there are sounds. You hear rather irritating sounding voice. You're pretty sure that it's the barkeep. He seems to be pleading with somebody or crying, or it's a weird sound. It's almost one of those things that you just as soon go back to sleep and ignore, except that you're starting to remember that something happened, that you seem to have lost consciousness. There's some odd smells in the air as you're laying there. You seem to be slumped forward. You can smell a mixture of earth and maybe the smell of like a farm chicken coop, that sort of earthy smell. But you can also smell something like something cooking, like soup. You're not particularly cold as your skin begins to tingle as you're waking up. And as your eyes begin to open, you realize that you are in a room. It's not the inn. And it's dark, though there's a fireplace and there's light coming from the fireplace. As you glance at the windows are quite dark, like nighttime dark. So it must have been hours. You also realize that your hands are manacled to the table in front of you. It's a big, heavy wooden table, and there's no chain. There's the manacle bracers, but your hands can't move. You're manacled down to the table. You also realize that your feet seem to be in some sort of like wooden brace that keeps them from moving around, like they used to put people in the stocks. And you hear a voice, a woman's voice, not a young woman's voice, an old woman's voice. And she says, "That'll be enough of you. You just hush up right now." And as you sort of look around, you see Atticus Boulder at the end of the table. And he just suddenly slumps forward. He doesn't seem to be manacled to the table, but he slumps forward like he can't help himself. And you can see that his face is wet and his head is sweaty, and he's kind of red, like he's been crying. And then out of the shadows, moving around the table, there is an old woman, but she's dressed in shawls. She has shawls draped over her, and too many shawls, one over her head, one over her back, and other ones heaped up, and so that she's kind of shapeless. And as she moves forward, she starts to move a bit around the table. "Well, now, what do we have here? What has Atticus brought me today?" And you can sort of see in the shadows that she's like the crone of nightmares. She is old and wrinkled and deep things, and her teeth are kind of blackened, and she seems to move without making any noise around the table.
Madam, there seems to be a misunderstanding. What?
Oh, dearie, no misunderstanding.
What is? Could you tell us the meaning of this?
Well, your friend here has brought you to me. Thinks he can make himself a deal.
Deal?
I
What
doubt
sort
you
of deal?
I somehow doubt that I would call him my friend.
Well, he brings me 10. I only needs 2. And she holds up her, what should be her hands, and she just has stumps. You can see that her arms are old and flabby and bony, and they seem to have had her hands chopped off and left completely healed over.
Madam, if it's hands that you need, I'm sure I have some prosthetics in my shop. We can sort you quite easily.
You need not call me madam. You can call me auntie. She sort of glides around to the other side of the table, and she says, well then, who will it be?
Madam, Miss Auntie, our dear friend here is he dead? Is he sleeping? Why is he slumped so?
He's useless right now.
You're useless right now, but he has use.
What's your name, dearie?
I'm Fulton's name, Audrey Fulton. I deal in antiques.
Audrey, that's a pretty name. And she moves towards you, and with her stumps, she sort of brings her stump down and caresses the back of your hand. What a lovely hand you have.
Madam, I'm sure that perhaps a daintier woman would perhaps suit your needs. I fear I am much too mannish.
Oh, that don't matter to me. She says, but who shall it be? He brings me 10, but I only needs 2. A hand for a hand.
A hand for a hand.
What shall we do?
Oh, dearie, you didn't take my hands. He took my hands. He thought to bring you here as a sacrifice, make some sort of deal with me to let him and his children go, but that's not what I want.
Why don't you take his hands?
I don't want his hands, dearie. I want my hands. And
well, where are your hands?
He won't bring them. We don't know for sure. I think he's got them back there in the pub. But I can't go to the pub. He's fixed that for sure.
Was it possible that he lit a very interesting looking candle? Was that one of yours?
I don't know what's going on over there.
It was a candle shaped like a hand.
That very well could be my hand.
If we go to the pub and find your hands and return them, will you let us go?
Oh, you wants to bargain with me, do you?
Oh, yes.
Not so much bargain, just more returning what was taken.
Well, I want you to understand that what I've done is they took me hands, so I took their children. I won't give them back their children unless I get my hands back.
Auntie, we understand. We would absolutely love to make this a reality for you and find your hands. But currently we are stuck in a very strange situation where we are bound, and it's freaking me out a little bit.
We're not exactly of much use to find your hands if we can't leave the table.
Oh,
And,
don't
and
you
clearly
worry
you're the
about that.
wronged party here, Auntie. I mean, we want to make it right for you.
Well, just to make sure, we need to give you a proper motivation. Atticus. She looks at him and he suddenly stands up and she goes like that. And when she does, he suddenly produces a huge meat cleaver and bang, brings it down on Audrey's left hand. Now, the odd thing is there's a moment of sharp pain that runs up your arm, but it goes away almost instantly. Your hand falls off, and there's almost no blood. You only take 1 hit point of damage.
Holy Christ!
My God!
What the hell? What the hell is going on? Let us
She
go.
then moves forward, and she brings her stump and sort of points it towards the hand. And the hand suddenly moves on the table like it's alive, and it moves towards her. It turns around, and you see these little white, sort of sinewy things snaking out of her arm and going into the veins and stuff of your hand. And it sort of fuses to her hand with a sort of sickening Rice Krispie sort of crackling sound. She picks it up and she goes, "Oh, that'll do nicely." Now it's not like her hand. Yeah, you can do a sanity roll.
Yes,
You can all do sanity
91.
rolls.
91.
Oh, 51, that's a fail.
I also failed.
Fail.
I actually succeeded.
Howard's fine with this. This is like every
Howard's
other thing
like,
at the pub.
it wasn't me. Not a big deal. Don't
Clearly,
care.
it's a dream. So
If you
We're all
pass,
dreaming.
take 1 point. If you fail, take 1d3 sanity points. I mean, sorry, yeah, 1d3.
2.
That's 3.
Okay, so that
And-
would be a 2.
And
It's not
Audrey,
bad.
she took your right hand.
Right hand? Okay.
I
thought it was her left. Yeah.
You
Did I say left? All right,
Yeah.
it's your
Yeah.
left hand.
Okay, no worries.
Audrey, you're right.
You also notice, Audrey, that very quickly and without any kind of pain or anything, your stump seems to heal itself over. Just a few drops of blood, a little smear of blood on the blade. And she says, "You can go now, Atticus." And Atticus turns and just walks out the door.
Forgive me,
I'm
Auntie.
struggling a lot more now.
What? Auntie, why did you take my hand? Of all
Lateral.
people.
It doesn't matter to me which ones I do, but I took your hand. Whose hand shall I take the right from?
Take mine.
Howard, are you
volunteer?
certain?
Yes,
Volunteer.
take mine.
This is mad.
And what's your name, sir?
My name is Howard, Auntie. Very nice to meet you.
Well,
I'm
Howard.
glad to be doing business with you.
Always nice to have a
Let's help to
volunteer.
right a wrong.
Always nice to just. Oh my goodness.
This is madness.
There's some
This is
odd-
beyond madness. This is insanity. Where the hell are we? Let us go.
as
She
you
will
guys
in a
are-
moment.
As you guys are contemplating this, you realize that the place where you are now, it seems to be kind of an old cabin hut. It's got thatch roof on it. The walls seem to have timbers, but they're also, what's it called? Where it's made of sticks and animal dung and
Daub, I believe it's
Daub,
called.
Daub and wattle.
and daub.
Yeah.
The place looks like, she lives here. There's herbs hanging from the ceiling, and there's, various things that have looked like they've been canned on the shelves. And she's definitely got something cooking on the stove. It smells like soup. She says, I'm only asking for what was mine to be returned to me. And so if we have a deal, you bring me back my hands, and I'll return to you yours. And I'll let the children go. I'm tired of taking care of them anyway. I've got my own children to take care of.
Atticus himself is not covered?
Atticus is the fool who got together with his own friends 5 years ago and took me hands. So I did what was right. I took his children, all of their children.
But you seem to have control over him. Why can't you just order him to bring you your hand?
I don't have control over him. He's simply broken. See, passing back and forth does a toll on the mind. This is the 5th time he's tried something and failed. This is the last time. No more going back and forth between the worlds.
So if this is the 5th time, what happened to the other 4? What happened those times?
They tried various other things, but none of them wanted to bring back the hands, so I wouldn't agree. I need the hands.
Why the hell do they take your hands? Between worlds, what
does it?
You're insane.
Dan,
You're insane. What are you even talking about?
Dan, does it particularly matter? We fulfill the deal.
Of course it matters.
We fulfill the deal with Auntie. She gets her hands. We get ours back. We go about our lives. If we're going to talk about encounters in other worlds, this is probably one of the best deals we'll get.
What are you all even talking about?
Atticus will get his. The children will be released. That's the best we can hope for. Truly.
This is obviously just a dream. We're all in the dream world, and we'll wake up at some point.
That's right, dearie. It's just a dream. And she picks up the cleaver and whack, brings it down on Howard's right hand. Same thing. There's a moment of searing pain, but it almost immediately goes away. It's like pulling out a splinter, and almost no blood, just a few drops. You only lose 1 hit point of damage. And you watch as the same thing happens. The hand sort of skitters over to her, and from the stump come little tentacles that reach out and go into the hand.
Well struck, Auntie. I hardly felt that.
That's much better now, isn't it? All right, you have your plans. All you need to do is follow the path back to the pub. And she waves her hands towards you, and the manacles suddenly release. And you find that your feet can now, they're loose. You can sort of slide out sideways. She says, but listen to me, dearies. You got to get it done before sunrise.
How do we get back to find you?
You'll find me. Same way you get here, same way you go. 2 hands taken, 2 hands given, on this eldritch night forgiven. She says, run along, dear.
Well,
run along.
Let's go. I want my hand back. Let's go. Pub time.
Now.
Pub now.
I take out my pipe and put a little tobacco in it and say, Patty, can you give me a light, please?
Yes, I think so. Yes, here we are.
Thank you.
All right, let's go.
Hard to light a match
now.
with my left hand.
All right. You
moving out of here.
Yeah, I'm right behind Charlie.
Yeah, walking down the path.
you step out the front door, and it's just got a simple wooden brace latch, to open it. You step out onto the porch, and you realize you're in the middle of the woods. It's quite dense in all directions, but dead ahead of you, there is definitely a path leading through the woods. I'd like you all to do spot hiddens.
Nope.
Failed again.
Nope.
And 11 is an extreme success.
I failed.
Okay. So Dan steps out first. He really wants to get the fuck out of there.
You could say that
first,
again.
and he takes a couple of steps down the front porch onto the ground. And Dan, the first thing you notice is the ground's a little squishy, which isn't unusual for the moors. It's not wet or muddy. And in fact, it doesn't look like it's been raining at all. Not here. You take a couple of steps noticing that. And as you turn around to see your friends coming out of the house as well, you notice that the house is, in fact, looks really old. It looks like it's not a house. It's an old wood hut. It's got a thatch roof and everything. But as you look up above the house, up into the sky, you're kind of taken aback by what you see. It's you've seen clear nights with the stars, but not like this. There's an entire galaxy stretched out in the sky with its swirly arms, and that is not the moon. That is a moon. It's small and it's blue, and it seems to be moving rather quickly across the sky. You look around and realize none of the stars look like they're correct, and there's another moon, completely different, bright yellow, and this is not your world, and you realize that. And for those who didn't pass, you guys all see Dan staring up at the sky, so you kind of look up too and see this.
I'm gonna make a sanity check.
Yeah,
She
you can
did-
make sanity checks.
A 92. I'm failing even worse this time.
She did say, not our world.
What is?
Indeed.
Oh, failed again.
Failed as well.
Pass.
I succeeded.
Of course
If you fail, just take 1d3. If you succeeded, take just one.
I only lost one this time.
Oh, 2.
All right. She did say we were in another world, but we just need to get out of here, back to the pub,
Indeed.
find our way back, and with any luck, listen. What do you? I'm like, listen. Auntie is one of the fair folk, the kindly ones, you know. We have.
Kindly?
What are you talking about? They put.
Patty, she literally took my hand. I don't think she's that bloody kind.
They
She's
put
one of the-
something. They put something in her
It's a
food.
law. Don't you think she can hear us?
They
We
put something in
insulted
our
her.
food and our drink. I shouldn't have had anything. This
Did
is-
none of you ever pay attention
This is a hallucination.
and
This
with
can't be real.
nursery rhymes, folklore, anything like that? I'm a book dealer. I know these things. Listen, we fulfill her deal. We go back to our lives, and we're out of fairy. Where else could we be?
Hallucinating. That's where we could be. We could be
Well,
on
if
the
we're
goddamn floor of that
hallucinating or
club.
dreaming,
Oh, but hallucinating.
Let's
Howard,
keep going.
Howard,
Let's keep working.
I'm like,
Yes,
Howard,
Patty.
your
Yes, Patty.
missing hand should probably be a sign that this isn't exactly a dream. Should
Yeah, crazy things happen in dreams. But anyway, let's go fulfill our bargain. That's the way when we're done, I'll wake up.
At least let's get out of here.
You start down the path. There's a couple of things that you notice as you are going along the path. The forest around you is very dense. If you know what a banyan tree looks like, the banyan trees are very, very dense, lots of roots that stick up above the ground. It's like the whole forest is filled with those. And although you don't feel any breeze whatsoever, it seems like the tops of the trees are swaying gently, as if something was slowly blowing them. You go not very far along the path, maybe 100 feet, 200 feet, and it opens up into a clearing. Now, in the clearing, you hear noise, and you realize that there are people in the clearing. It looks like a number of people. They have lanterns, and they have children with them, and they're laughing, and the children are running around, and the parents they seem to be embracing their children, and, so happy to see them again. You realize that some of them, or maybe all of them, were people that were in the pub. You even notice Atticus over to one side with a young boy that he's embracing with, there's a woman there with him, maybe his wife. And the moons are shining down from above, and the stars, and the trees are waving. And the children seem to be in pretty good condition. I mean, they're neat and clean and happy. What do you guys do?
this is heartwarming and all, but I'm keeping moving because at this point, we have a mission. We need to get to it. And honestly, I'm not sure I can stand looking at any of these people right now.
Petty, we have to ask the barkeep where he keeps her hands before we go.
You think he'll say?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
He may not, but let's ask. Good barkeep, Edison. I've given my hand, and it says my friend, so you could have your children back. You need to tell us where her hands are.
He, at first, he seems to ignore you, and he looks back and he says, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm here with my son finally, after so long. I only gets to see him once a year. And
Well, how about you start talking, or your son's going to see your nose broken and bleeding when I break it.
no, don't talk like that. Not around my son. And he says to his wife, you take him over here. And he says, I didn't mean nothing by it. It's not personal. It's just our
No.
situation.
Oh,
We've been
two of my friends are missing their fucking hands, so it's pretty personal.
Sacrificing innocence for your own gain.
we've had our children taken away from us for 5 years. This is the last chance that we have to get them back.
Perhaps if you hadn't taken her hands in the first place, none of this would have happened. Now listen, we are going to try and return what was lost, and at least get your children released. I make no guarantees for you. So
maybe
where are they?
you can tell us your side of the story. I'm a little upset here. You can surely understand that, but maybe there is a different side to all of this.
It's all written in the book. It's
Book?
What book?
back at the pub. It says You don't understand. We did it because people was disappearing in the woods for years and years. It was like we thought that we could stop her, but she took our children the very night that we did this 5 years ago. And now every solstice, we have one night where we can come back and try to get back our children, but she wants our hands, but we don't want that to happen. But this was our last chance.
You dealt with a fae. What did you think was going to happen?
Oh, she's not a fae. She's a witch.
So,
Where?
if she gets her hands back, what do you think is going to happen? Explain this to me, because it got pretty fucking personal when you took my hand.
You start to realize that Atticus isn't altogether there. That he seems to forget who you are all of a sudden. He seems to suddenly not make much sense. At one point he sees his kid and he's surprised and immediately wants to go back over and talk to him. You realize that there's something wrong with Atticus. You're not sure that you can that you can trust anything that he's saying, not because he's devious, but because he's a moron.
The barkeep's useless. Let's go to the pub.
Atticus, where's the book? In the pub. Where is it in the pub?
It's in the basement.
Very good.
With the candle.
Oh, look, there's me boy.
I'll take that as a yes. There should be 2 if we're lucky.
And now this is much more ethically questionable. We've already given her hands, and will she be able to use those hands to steal more children in the woods?
I care not. I want my hand back. I'm marching off in a huff towards.
And
roughly
none of this
where
would
the
have
pub is.
happened. None of this would have happened if they had just, if there had to have been another way than just taking her hands and making her angry. There had to be.
Do you hear yourself? This is all lunacy. What do you mean, fae and witches and what they should or shouldn't have done? This is madness. I keep trying to tell you people. There's no way this can be real.
Please, Dan, look at Audrey's missing stump and tell me that's not real.
I'm gone. I've already walked off.
I walk off with Audrey.
With that, I stalk off after them.
Everybody's lost their goddamn mind.
It's not much farther, maybe another 200 feet or so, and the tunnel through the trees opens up, and you can see the pub up ahead of you. Now, the pub is no longer in the setting that you remember. It was up against some trees, but the forest behind it is quite different. It's much the same as it is behind you, tangled and twisted. You go up onto the porch and you realize that your walking sticks are all still there.
Wonderful.
I pick my walking stick up.
You step inside, and the fire in the fireplace has gone out. But you know what you're doing, so you quickly you try to turn on electricity, but there's no electricity. You light a lantern or a hurricane lamp so that you can see. And you walk over towards the bar. Now, sitting on the bar is what you thought was a candle. It's no longer lit. And in fact, it is now a fist like this. It seems to be cut off at the wrist, and it seems to have been jammed onto a candle holder. So there's a little metal prong that sticks up, and it's been stuck on there. It's now closed. And you also notice that there is a ring on the finger. It looks like it's gold with a green emerald in it. It doesn't look like modern work. It doesn't look like something you would get in a boutique. It looks like something like pirate treasure, kind of crude, kind of old, definitely handmade. So what do
This
you
is
do?
This is definitely the first hand. Audrey, that ring looks about right.
None of you
It is
noticed
so.
the ring before, but
Okay.
you weren't that close to it.
Well, right. But I mean, it looks like
The ring certainly is old. I would make a pretty penny flipping this.
I agree. This would look good in my shop.
let's
What a
not
shame
make her
then.
let's not make her
What?
any more angry than she already is. All right.
Charlie.
The ring is part of the
Business
hand.
never stops. I understand that I'm currently missing a hand, and yes, I am incensed. But when you see a piece like this that is so clearly retirement level money, you can't help but admire it.
Admire,
agreed.
I
yes, but it
understand.
needs to stay where it is.
It's going,
I'm
I
gonna-
understand, Patty. It's going to stay where it is. I'm not going to
I-
take it.
And one
I'd like to roll a praise on it, Tom, if I could.
Okay.
I would like to meet Charlie's eyes and go like,
I got a hard success.
Nice. Well, it definitely looks old. Do you have antiquities or I don't know what your expertise is.
Well, I am an antiquarian.
Okay.
It's a business partner, so
Yeah.
There's things,
we collaborate.
it's
Yeah.
crude enough that you could place it maybe late Roman or somewhere around it doesn't, the workmanship on it's not like medieval. It's much more earlier than that, so probably late Roman, but it could even be older than that. So appraising it, who knows? It's not a particularly large emerald and it's not finely cut, and there's no provenance other than it's on a hand.
Good enough.
That's pretty, maybe a few $100s or pounds.
Let's find that book
Money.
and look for the hand, the other hand.
So we have one already. He said the book is in the basement. With any luck, we might find the other hand there.
Is there another level to this pub? Is it a single level pub, or is
There
there
is
an
an upstairs.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an inn, so they have rooms for people.
I do want to see if we can maybe find his room. He might have kept the other hand there for all we know.
Okay. So what do you want to do first?
I'd like to check behind the bar for any rings of keys or other access tools, shall we say?
Okay. There don't seem to be any, but in the
Mhm.
process, Audrey, of looking around, you realize that there is a large trap door in the floor.
Wonderful. No prizes for guessing where that leads. So we know where the basement is. I would rather see the rest of the pub before going into the basement.
Agreed.
We are on a
But-
deadline.
We are on a deadline, yes. I can't shake the feeling that there is
Maybe we should
something more
split
to
up.
this.
I do want to find the other hand. If I can get into his room, that might he could very well have the other one in there for all we know.
So if
But you-
Patty and I head upstairs and we look at the rooms, and the three of you head into the basement, then we can simply meet you. And if something goes wrong, scream really loudly. Simple.
Okay.
Patty, you might be best placed, though, to know which book.
Yes. In that case, Charlie, go with Audrey upstairs?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Right.
So before we go upstairs, can we make a detour via the kitchen for a spatula or like there's something with which I could jimmy like a drawer open or like a something?
Some sort of way to pry something open.
Yeah, something to pry something open. Yeah.
All right, we'll say you find something in the kitchen. That'll work.
Beautiful.
All right.
All right. And then upstairs.
Got a whole coffee cup full of coffee that I completely forgot about.
I reach down with my left hand and pull the trapdoor open.
I'm probably holding the lantern because we're going to need it. Basements are dark.
And there are a number of lanterns, so it's easy enough to find something to use.
Right.
All right, let's go upstairs first. Audrey and Charlie, you head upstairs, and it doesn't take you long to realize with empty rooms that there is one towards the back that is it's going to be a much larger room because they obviously live here. The door is not locked. You open it up and look around. It looks like a place where you'd expect the innkeeper to live. It's a little homier than the rest of the other rooms. Do a spot hidden for me.
This bodes well. 007, which is a hard success.
16 is hard as well.
As you're looking around, you're looking in obvious places for stuff. You find what looks like a bit of a kind of a sketchbook. And it's old. It looks like maybe Atticus at one point, wanted to aspire to be an artist. He's got some drawings in the beginning that are actually fairly decent, But as you turn the pages and as you get towards the end, you find this.
She speaks of her young 5 long years. What's on that side? Our young in exchange for hers. We had no chance.
No choice.
No choice.
And the next page shows this.
They stand dormant in the dark woods. At least the woods are safe again. Oh dear.
It looks like the ramblings of a madman.
They are completely insane.
Preposterous. Preposterous. I'd like to rack my brains into my knowledge of like the occult and think back to any sort of large tree-like figures like this that would be present in
go ahead and do an
any
occult
sort of mythology. That was very much not a success. That was a 91. So yeah, cool. Big tree people. Seems legit.
All right. Other than that, as you're looking around, you don't seem to find anything out of the ordinary. You definitely find evidence that he and his wife are a little nuts. That it looks like their habits have gotten shakier and shakier over the years. And he doesn't look like a particularly old man. He looks like he's probably in his 40s. But
I'm looking for anything that shows me that there's a child living here or that
that was
has
my
been
next
here.
question, like signs of children.
There is evidence that a child was living here at some point. Like the room is mostly one large room, There's definitely a smaller child's bed, but it hasn't been used in years.
So it looks a little bit like they lost their child and never got over it, and they just kept his toys and his bed and everything like as it was.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Downstairs, you guys open up the cellar, and as you look down, there are Um, kind of, I don't know what to call them. It's kind of like stairs ladder. It's very steep stairs. It goes down into the basement, maybe 10 feet down. And it's basically a fairly large room. You can see that there is all kinds of stored things, stored alcohol, stored foodstuffs, and so forth, stored furniture and so forth. In the middle of the room, however, there is a large table that is laid out flat. And there are a couple of things sitting on it. One is a fairly large looking old book. The other one looks almost like a scrapbook, the kind grandma used to have. And then in the center of the table is another little glass domed thing with another hand in it, very much like the one upstairs. But this one has up one finger, and it doesn't have any kind of ring on it. But it seems to be in the center of the table.
Well,
and it's the opposite one of this one.
Right. There's the other hand. And this is probably, I knock on the large book, is probably the book he was speaking of, but this scrap thing, I at least want to look at it before we get things and go.
The big book is open, by the way.
Okay.
But
so I'm gonna now, just for curiosity's sake, I do want to sort of take a quick look at it. Like, how old am I guessing this probably is?
When you look at it at first, you realize almost immediately that it is definitely Middle English. You can sort of make out what it says, but everything's got extra Y's and E's and letters like Chaucer. Difficult to read. The scrapbook, you flip open the scrapbook and you immediately come to the realization that there are at least 2 or 3 dozen newspaper articles that have been cut from the newspaper, the local newspapers. They all seem to have the same theme, and that is people, strangers, going missing in the moors. A sample one that you read is this.
Okay.
I blurred out the ad because the ad's not important.
The Yorkshire Clarion. Rambler found dead on moors. Miss Riley's body found in the woods. Missing since December 10th. Deceased said to have suffered from insomnia. The mystery surrounding the disappearance of Miss Sophia Riley, 22 years of age, of Elm Grove, Thornhill, Lees, Dewsbury, was solved this morning by the discovery of the body on the edge of the woods on Rudland Moor. Miss Riley left her home about 6 o'clock on Thursday morning to meet her friends and go rambling, and she was last seen alive near the Wych Elm pub. She was then in good spirits and told an acquaintance that she would not keep her talking longer than was necessary, as she was anxious to return in time for work. What became of her after that had been a mystery up to this morning. A diligent search was made by the West Riding police and the fullest inquiries amongst relatives and friends, but these failed to reveal her whereabouts. Miss Riley's body was first seen this morning by a rambler, John Martin. The body was conveyed to the Victoria Hotel, where an inquest will be held probably tomorrow. There was nothing found in the deceased's pockets likely to throw any light on the tragedy. Although the deceased enjoyed fairly good health, she had complained she could not sleep, and on one occasion, some 12 months ago, is said to have risen in the middle of the night and was found wandering in the village by a policeman. She was a good worker and was fond of her parents and her home.
Most of the other articles are very similar. People getting up in the middle of the night and walking out, sometimes into the woods and never being seen again.
Patty, I fear I owe you an apology. This is beginning to seem like something to do with the Fae. Will you pinch me anyway to make sure I'm awake?
I walk over and pinch the arm that has your hand on it.
Patty, Dan, and Howard do spot hidden ones as you guys are kind of looking at some.
Oh my! Hey!
That's a fail, but I will spend 5 luck to make that a regular success.
You don't need to.
Oh no!
I got a hard success.
Okay.
Oh sweet, good.
But Dan, you got an extreme. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So Dan, despite your skepticism and your unwillingness to believe any of this, the one thing that you notice as Patty flips through the book is that all of these incidents took place at least 5 years ago.
Oh, at least. Okay.
And that nothing has occurred. No one's gone missing in the woods in the last 5 years.
Dan, what is it?
Well, look, I mean, whatever they did in your, in this Fey logic world, and apparently in which we live, at least for now, they put a stop to all this, right?
Right, but then we got dragged into it.
But so why? What? And look, these people are turning up dead. So the ethical thing to do reasonably is accept the fact that Howard volunteered his hand up and call it quits. Why do we give this lady her hands back, huh?
Unfortunately, we've already made the deal. We break it, what will happen?
I didn't make a deal.
She took it for all of us,
Well, what she was saying, she can't even come in here, huh? She said she can't enter this place. We don't have to go back out there. She can't come in here. In your own logic sense, right? I mean, she could come in here. She could get them herself.
What about the children that she has? Surely you care about them.
We've
got to figure out a better way.
You saw dozens of children out there.
It's not just us, Dan. I understand this is not something you would want to deal with, but a deal was struck. In her mind, it was all of us, not just 2.
Now you're speaking for her too, huh? You know her mind. You know exactly how she thinks. She knows all the law codes of the Fae.
Fae don't think like we do.
But what do you mean she's Fae, huh? She didn't look small and have little wings or wasn't glowing green or anything, huh?
That's the popular perception, but in many cases, they don't always look like that. My point is, we're already stuck in a bargain.
My point is that you're refusing.
We're in big trouble.
You have a perspective of the Fae and you've put it on everything, regardless of not that's true. We have to use our brains. We have our brains. We're not a bunch of superstitious apes. We can think, damn it.
I am thinking.
You're spouting fairy nonsense that you've been reading in that bookshop of yours all day. If this is really a real situation, don't you think it's worth sitting down and thinking about it? She said we have till sunrise. That's some time.
Let's do that right now, Dan. Let's get together with our friends, see what they found upstairs, and think our way out of this. I'm not willing to give this woman back her hands at the cost of people being killed in the woods, nor am I willing to let those children suffer. We've got to find a better way.
I was going to say, by this time, those upstairs start coming downstairs and they hear you guys arguing in the basement.
All right, let's at least bring
They seem to have found something.
Let's at least bring the books and the other hand upstairs so we at least know where everything is.
Whoa. Let's not move anything, okay? The Fae and magic things.
They need to see the books.
The witch lady said that she couldn't enter here, right? She said she can't enter the pub. They fixed it that way. So what if her hand being here has something to do with that, huh? What's not moving? Right now she can't come in here and kill us all or something. I don't know. But did
you notice, however?
I looked down the stairs. I take it you found something?
We have the hand and 2 books. There's something interesting though, and that's why I wish to bring them up so that we can all look at them more easily.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you.
No, nobody. No, don't touch it.
Well,
is
if
there room
they're
for
already
everyone?
there and open, why can we not just come down?
Not the books.
That
I'm talking
seems
about the
easy.
hand.
Come
The
down.
hand. Yeah, just
Yeah.
come down here.
Oh.
This
Just come
seems
down
like an
here.
easy solution.
I grab one of the
fine.
bottles of scotch that are stored down here and take the top off, offer glasses around.
I mean,
Thank
just
you.
take the bottle from you. And chug a bit and give it back.
I very quickly fill in the other two about the scrapbook, the dates, the people going missing, this other book in Middle English, and there's the other hand with one finger up.
When Howard takes the bottle, I'm looking at it and I'm like, "You sure you want to drink anything in here?
Thank you.
Last time didn't went too well."
No, you're right. I sort of sigh, sort of give a heaving sigh and put my glass down.
But see, and what you're saying here is that they had no choice in the steal, right? 5 years ago, according to their own diary, they got their children swapped. So your whole making deals with the Fae, didn't it sound like they made a deal, huh? It sounds like she forced it upon them, much like she forced it upon us. So why are we playing her games, huh? She doesn't seem to care about people agreeing to anything.
Can I interject here for a moment?
We found something as well, and I show them the sketchbook.
Wonderful. Ravings of a madman. Anyway, so have you noticed perhaps that this hand has a finger still up and the other one does not?
They did say that the first that this was their last attempt to try and get the children back, and if you remember, the other hand had a finger up when he lit it.
Yes,
Now,
this is my point. So
right.
In theory, we could simply light the finger and be transported back to the wonderful English countryside, leave them all behind, including her. Problem solved. Yes, I don't have a hand. I'll deal with it. I have prosthetics in my store. This is a simple solution. We don't have to make a deal with Miss Witchy, Fairy, whatever. We just go.
You think she won't find us?
You can't touch us. She's stuck in here.
I like your thinking, Audrey. I have matches.
You think she doesn't have agents that can find us?
What are you talking about? What are you? Agents?
I would agree with you, Audrey, except we can't leave those children behind, nor leave this danger in the woods for for future ramblers. We have to think of more than ourselves.
Just taking it for what you're saying, we can decide if we want to leave the children or endanger future people. Because from the day they took her hands, from all we read here, she wasn't able to take any other ramblers.
Exactly. She's stuck. Sure, we're down a hand. I don't particularly care. They're down some kids. Again, I don't care. I hate kids. Personally, I find them annoying.
Problem is, Audrey, now that she has functioning hands again, even if they're not hers, what's to say she won't start up again anyway?
Because she still needs her damn hands.
Her hands, or will any hands do?
Why would she want her hands back if she doesn't need them? She's very practical, right? Right? She said she didn't care what the hands were or what they looked like.
Whoa.
He needs the ring.
The ring. And we never agreed to bring her ring.
Exact words. She wanted her hands. Faye logic. You said the hands, not the ring. You said that.
Faye. Oh my god.
Okay.
I sincerely doubt this is a Fae, because if this was a Fae, our names would have been taken as collateral, not our hands. This is witch behavior. Plus, cutting hands off of witches is a common punishment.
That's a good point, Audrey.
Very true.
Supernatural.
Although there is one thing I want to look at very quickly. I can't exactly make out the text in this book. It's Middle English, but texts like these are often illuminated and somewhat illustrated. So I grab the sketchbook, slap it next to the giant book, and see if either of these drawings show up in any like illuminations or pictures in the book.
There are no pictures in the book.
What's its title?
The title on the outside is Banishment and Return, spelled BANYSHMENTE and return with an E on the end of it.
So this could very easily be, could this be her book?
Well, what you can do, since Dan's looking at it now, do an English roll. Let's see if you can.
49 is a regular success. I'll happily spend luck to get that
Hard.
down hard.
Okay, well, let's say the two of you start trying to figure it out. It's difficult because there are substitutions of letters. S's don't look like S's, they look like F's. And,
Right.
And so forth. So as you start to try to read through this book, you can see that the page was open to a page that starts, knowledge bounded therein to send a witch back to the devil's realm. There is a rather elaborate sort of spell that's described where they had to create a ring of salt around her hut and go in and bind her with certain kinds of leather cords and remove her hands, cut them off, and it would trap her in the devil's realm. In order to do this, they had to take her to the devil's realm. So in the process, the inn and the hut and the forest surrounding all transported to this place. But then there is a spell to bring them back to their own realm. What's needed is an object of memory, an object that has been in both places and can point the direction back to the original realm. If you don't have such an object, there's a very good chance that you'll just get lost in the ether.
Would our walking
somewhere.
sticks work?
Well, they've been in both places now, haven't they?
And they point. Or they
So-
can anyway.
I imagine that these hands have been used as such pointing devices as they belong to the witch has been brought here and back, etc. It evidently was not the original mechanic that they used to get to the devil's realm. They've expended that in some manner. I don't know how. So, in theory, we could follow the spell, burn the last finger, take the pub back to reality. Not only do we now have a pub, but we've trapped all of the people and their kids and the witch in the devil's realm.
But
None
we
of our
still have
business.
but then we still have her hands. Then what do we do with them? Burn them?
So we'll put them on a stake out the front and go, oh, we got your hands. Who cares?
If we're going to do this, I would probably like to have these hands destroyed. That way, nothing can be done with them after.
We could sell them for a pretty penny.
And
We could
have
certainly sell
and
that
poten-
ring for a pretty penny.
and potentially have someone figure out how to bring them all back.
Well, that would be good for them. I imagine we'll be long dead by then.
Now you're thinking about long-term consequences.
Yes, long-term consequences. I make enough money to retire. I disappear off into somewhere nice and mountainous. Maybe my grandkids can deal with the
The Swiss
consequences.
Alps.
I
are
don't
nice.
care. Yes, the Swiss Alps sound lovely.
If this works, I'm selling my shop and going to America, and I've never met any of you in my life.
Okay, so let's just very quickly assess our options here. So we can bring the hands back. The deal is done. Whether or not the witch keeps her word, up in the air. I have no reason to believe that she will, frankly, given that they had no choice in the children disappearing in the first place. Option 2, we leave everybody and just go about our lives, retire with the ring money. Option 3, We try and bargain, perhaps with the ring. Now, what is our backup plan, so to speak? We have our walking sticks that could potentially be used in the ritual. What are we going to do?
We have until sunrise to do something.
Of course, we're in some strange alien place, aren't we? I mean, how do we know how long that is?
Sunrise in this realm could be as far as we know, a half hour from now. So whatever decision we need to make it quickly.
Well, how long did it take us to get from the hut to the pub? Maybe 5-minute walk?
Perhaps.
We can sprint. Easy. So if our last resort is to bring the hands back and do the deal as prescribed, then perhaps we can try and engineer another way out of this.
I'm uncomfortable leaving the children there. Well, it's their parents' dealings that led them there. The children are innocent of their crime.
So how about we pick up a child and bring it into the pub and see what happens?
They've also been here for 5 years, Howard. As much as I hate to say it, you don't stay this long in a realm like this and come out normal. You don't.
How do you possibly know that? You speak as if you have personal experience of this before.
I don't, Dan, but think about it. They've spent 5 years in what's called the Devil's Realm. Do you think they're going to come out of it sane?
I would like to open the door to where the children and the people were and attempt to lure a child into the pub.
Well, can we kill the witch?
Is it possible? I'm not sure it is.
I imagine if they're resorted to banishment, killing isn't exactly an option.
Or
what? There must be a way out of this.
Are there any other methods of banishment in that book?
I can look. This is a book about that. There might be, but I'm not sure we have enough time trying to decipher all the rest of them.
So what does this transport ritual entail? Like, what are the things that we must do besides having the thing that's been in both realms that can point in all the rest?
It's mostly the recitation of a incantation that just looks like gibberish.
But it doesn't have to be the hand specifically that points the way.
No, it almost seems to indicate it could be some sort of trinket.
Anything would work, yes.
Like our walking sticks.
Or a ring.
Or a ring.
Are you going to burn a ring?
As for the rest of the book, there may be things in it that talk about banishment. It seems like they chose the least complicated way to do it. You would literally have to gather all sorts of materials and things for other ways of doing it.
Wonderful.
I want to look at the hand with the ring on it. And it's candle, right? It's wax.
Do you want to, are you picking it up physically?
Yes, I am.
It's a very odd sort of feeling, a texture. At first, it's almost it's dry, like it's been desiccated. So it's got kind of a wooden sort of feel to it. At the same time, it's a little squishy, which kind of freaks you out a little bit, and it's definitely, it's not like it's got rigor mortis. If you try to get one of the fingers and go like this, the finger will move, but if you let it go, it immediately snaps back into place. It's odd feeling.
So it's possible I could slide that ring off that finger.
Yeah, without much difficulty. You also notice, if that's what you're going to do,
I think that's what I'm going to do. Yes.
You slide the ring off. The finger itself doesn't have like an indentation. Normally people who wear rings their whole lives, you end up with an indentation. It doesn't look like there's any kind of an indentation, and it's not difficult to get the ring off. There doesn't seem to be any overt decoration on it. There's no magical words inscribed on it or anything. It just looks like an old emerald ring.
One thing we don't know is why she can't enter the pub.
She's bound to the devil's realm.
Are we still in the basement, or did we?
Yeah, we're still in the basement.
Still in the basement, yeah.
I'm going up the stairs, and I'm gonna look at the woodwork around the doors and the windows. Are there any strange signs or anything?
There's not. If you want to do an intelligence roll.
Well, if I don't see anything inside, I'm gonna check outside.
I got a 12 on intelligence.
30 is hard success.
So 12 was an extreme.
I'll just explain. It seems like one of the very first steps to do in binding her was to surround the house in a circle of salt.
Okay.
She can't leave that.
She can't.
She's bound in the house.
Get out of that area. Yeah.
Is there salt here?
Sure, of course there is. Yeah.
What if we go back to her hut and trap her in with salt?
She's already trapped in the house, as far as we know.
Yeah, but the house can play host to all sorts of machinations. If we trap her in a small ring, then she won't be able to move much at all.
There's more to it than just assault, though.
Yes, there's more.
I seem to remember the rituals specifically saying surrounding their house, not just them.
Right. And she had to be tied down with cords.
That's an interesting point. This witch is obviously quite powerful, and yet she was able to be overpowered and tied down such.
Well, what if we don't do it? What if we don't do anything? That's something we haven't considered, is doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Think
and
about
what?
it.
Stay here the rest of our lives?
No. They'll go back, won't they?
Well, I imagine the burning of the fingers is what has transported them.
Right, but I'm saying the children and the people who came here. I think the problem with not doing anything is that we'd go back without your hands.
Would we go back? At this point, do not care. I have a prosthetic in my shop that will fit me just fine. Yes, I'm missing out on 40 quid, but it'll make do.
I sacrificed my hand so none of you would have to. I'd gladly do that to save the children.
So, if we perhaps return to this witch house, hands in, not in tow, but perhaps close enough to retrieve in quick succession, should we be running low on time, and bargain with this witch and say that we will give her the hands in exchange for the children returning, or perhaps we kick the salt ring or something of.
Or what if we threaten her children?
Did you see the drawings of her children? I think they would kill us in an instant.
Perhaps if we tell her that the terms of the deal have changed, we'll return her hands, but we require one last condition: she no longer takes anyone from the woods.
Do the drawings of the tree-like things look like anything we've passed?
Be hard to tell. All the trees are kind of tangled and.
So what? The only problem there is that I'm not certain. Will she accept it if we try to sweeten the deal for us?
But I mean, how do we know she'll keep any promise? How do you know that you'll get your hands back? How do we know
Yeah.
she'll won't
That's
take any more
that's why-
children?
That's why I was assuming she was Fae, because when a Fae gives their wood, they're bound to keep it or they'll have the wild hunt on them.
But that's an assumption, right?
This uncertainty is what.
And
is giving
they
me
treated her
pause.
like a witch, not like fays. And there's nothing saying witches have to keep promises. Is there?
This is true. As far as I'm aware, no.
I feel like
She-
we're
she
missing
clearly-
something.
Yeah, she clearly needs her hands for a reason.
She wouldn't have let us go if she didn't need her hands.
Hmm.
That's for certain.
And is it her hands that allow her to do her power?
And look, and she took your hands as collateral, right? To prompt us to bring her hands back.
Yeah, but
But
if we don't,
Is it her hands that she
Okay.
needs, or is it the ring? That's what I'm not certain about.
What?
the ring is nothing spectacular. It's just old and valuable as far as.
But it
Are
may
you
have been in
certain?
both realms. It may
It
have
has
been in
been in
both
both
realms.
realms,
It
yes.
may be the tool she could use to return.
That's possible.
And as you said, we return her hands, we don't give her the ring.
the
for all
deal
we
was
know,
for the hands,
for-
not for the ring.
For all we know, we could have just cut her metaphysical legs out from under her.
But what's keeping her from killing us then?
So
Exact words. We promised her hands.
Yeah.
We brought back the hands.
Did she promise to?
At what point did we promise to do anything? Again, I didn't promise to do anything. I promised it before, but did
she
anybody use the
spoke
word
of-
specifically? I promised to bring you back your hands.
not as such in my recollection, though.
Yeah,
I
you
was
said
quite
you would.
concerned.
I
Never said I
agreed to the
promised
bargain.
to.
But then again, she did say she wanted back what was taken. That's a bit of a slippery term if you think about it. The ring is part of the hand.
That
It
is,
was taken along with it.
But she's the one taking people in the first place. So her
All she
whole,
asked was
they took
hands.
things from me.
What are the odds that if we take the ring, she won't try and take something else from us, supposing that she's not
But
completely
she can't
trapped.
take anything else from us right now.
So
And have her hands been in both realms? Could she then use those just as well as the ring?
They have, I would
Hmm.
think. Because they have been, because Atticus
if
and them
they-
have been using them.
if they become unpersoned by being detached, perhaps they become the object, versus just a limb.
Which is partly
Right.
why I would like them destroyed if we decide to just walk
Well,
out.
Do these people understand how to go back?
I think they've been doing what works and just sticking to that.
And
I
she did-
suspect
You're right.
that
I mean, they
after our
come
different
here.
Atticus and his, shall we say, the airheaded demeanor, I don't suspect they're particularly clever.
No.
But I mean, like they say they can only visit their children once
Once a year
a year, but
on the solstice.
do they? Maybe it's like
So-
they don't understand how to bring their children back with them.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Perhaps.
We have a spell
Perhaps
here that
the ritual
tells
only
us how
works
to
during
return.
solstice. But perhaps burning the fingers is
if-
removing its power. And so once it's lost its power, it becomes a fist.
or
no.
if their spell initially brought the pub, the hut, and all the woods here, would the
Mhm.
return spell bring everything back? Do you think?
That's what I was concerned about.
But if they bring it all back and she's still trapped in the ring of salt,
I
then we
imagine
get back
so.
in the real world and we go torture your house down.
Hey, Tom, did the hand that we have here look like the candle that was lit before we went unconscious?
Yes.
Mhm.
It almost looks like they dipped the finger in a little bit of wax and put a wick on the end to light it. You can see the residue of the wax on the finger.
Is
So
there
the
any
hand itself was not damaged.
Is there any spell? Like, what is with the hand? They lit the hand to get here, or so we think. Is that in the book anywhere?
It's not clear. I mean, you're pretty sure that's what they did. And you also get kind of the mental impression that the hand was like this, and that it, each time they tried it, it closed up.
So there's only one charge left in the other hand. Which is why I think that if we're going to do this return ritual, we ought to use something that isn't the hand.
But I mean, if the hand is our only way back, then giving it to the witches, we're dead for sure, aren't we?
Well, the ritual says it can be a trinket, so we could, in theory, burn a walking stick. Perhaps we do this. We bring her one hand and say, we're making great progress. We found one hand, and try and barter that for either Howard's or my hand. And then we just leave. If she will just give it to us. No, that's a stupid idea. Don't ignore
No.
No.
So much of it depends on what gives her the power to steal the children or to steal the other ramblers.
I mean, if the hands is the way that they're traveling back and forth, then she needs her hands to do the same thing. Right?
Yeah,
her hands give her.
But they could only do it so many times.
Well, I think that the way that they've prepared the hand is only so many times. But I imagine if she has her hands back, she clearly has enough magical power within her. She could re-imbue them, perhaps after some time. Perhaps we give her hands back and she just snaps her fingers and disappears. I honestly have no idea.
But we have to make a decision, and soon.
We do.
I think the pragmatic solution is that we bring her hands, depend on the ritual that bound her within her hut to keep her there. We don't bring the ring back in to her hut.
I don't think that's a good idea. If she wants her hands, and she obviously needs them, so it can't be that she has no magical powers at all. I mean, she controlled this Atticus guy. She made manacles disappear. She obviously has her powers within her hut.
Within the hut, which she's found within.
The only explanation is that she needs her hands to return to our world or to leave the hut or whatever. And if we give them to her, what would stop her from just getting us back into those manacles and killing us?
Yeah,
I mean, she obviously killed people before.
Mm-hmm. And another thing we don't know is where she's been keeping the children all these years.
That's what I'm also worried about that as well. As I said, 5 years of this. What have they been eating?
Well, they looked fine.
Everyone do an intelligence roll, because you were there with the crowd of parents and children.
Success.
That is a
Success.
extreme success.
67 is a regular. Success.
Okay. As you recall, as you think back on it, there was a definite difference between the parents and the children. The parents all looked haggard, as if they had been waiting 5 years or, seeing their children once a year. The children seemed like it had only been a short time, and they were enjoying Auntie's company. and that it only seemed like a couple of days, maybe 5 days.
Time passes differently in this realm.
A day in here is a year outside.
In fact,
In
you even
theory.
think that it's that you heard one of the children saying that, every night mom and dad show up.
So, in theory, if we were to trap them here, they would have an infinite amount of time to spend with their children. They evidently don't want for food or cleanliness. That it could be a gift. And we still trap the witch.
It's hard to disagree with that logic. The parents and the children are together and they seem happy here.
They were happy.
What is stopping? Is there anything really preventing them from taking their children back with them?
That's the thing.
They said they
I just
couldn't.
think they said that.
They must have tried if that were the case.
Yes, they said they tried. They tried everything they could.
So evidently that's not happening.
But what is everything they could? I mean, this is a whole book spelled about banishment and return, right? But they only did one spell out of it to get the witch here.
Unfortunately, I'm not sure we have the time to try and figure that out.
Apparently, we got plenty of time. I mean,
And we're losing days as we speak.
I mean, if you want to stop losing days, Patty, you have your walking stick. You have the spell in this book. You could leave right now.
Do we have? So what are our options, realistically?
Bring the hands back. Don't try to bargain. Leave everyone here. Bring the hands back, but with a bargain. That's basically it.
I think there's got to be something else, though. There's got to be a way to bring everybody back, right? I mean, what is preventing the children from leaving?
Is the hand with the extended finger? Is there a wick on that finger, or?
There is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
So it is prepared.
we could take these hands back with us back out to speak with the parents and the children some more,
Or just ask them to come to the pub. Why don't we ask them to come in here?
Let's try and get a kid in here and see what happens. I think that's the next logical step. All right, I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to open the door and I'm going to invite the children inside. I'll say there's warm apple mead.
Now, the children are about 200 feet away in the glade.
Okay, I will walk towards the children.
Are you guys going?
I'll go with.
I'll go with Audrey.
Are you?
I'm not leaving it alone.
anything.
I'm
with you?
staying. I'm staying in the cellar. I have a bad feeling about this.
Okay.
Let's.
Yeah, I'm staying here. I don't want anybody grabbing any hands.
I'll leave it.
Yeah. Do we have both hands down here or just the one?
You have
both hands.
You have both hands down here. Okay.
So Audrey, you're leading the way. You go through the trees. You come to the glade. The children are playing. The parents are momentarily happy, but also very sad. You make the attempt, and you find that the children can't leave the glade. That if they try, they just turn around and go back into the glade. So something is keeping them from going there. One of the parents says to you, the children can't leave the glade without Auntie's permission. She also, the woman also confirms that while it's been 5 years, the children only think that it's been 5 nights.
What would happen if Auntie gets her hand back?
They don't have any idea. The parents barely understand what you're talking about. It's like they've all been mentally damaged. It seems to imply also in the book that there is a fairly heavy price to pay by the people who are traveling, who are trying to create this transition between worlds. Whatever it is, you think that it's driven them all insane. At least mostly insane.
Okay, let's get back to the pub.
All right.
I think even if we could get the children free, their parents wouldn't be able to take care of them anymore.
Maybe they're better here under Auntie's care.
Well, and with everything that they've done, they've never once given the hands back.
Well, I fear they can only try that once.
So it seems it might be our best option for us and for them and the world if we leave, take the hands with us, and when we get back to the other side, burn them.
Or what if we bring... I know I've been against exiting the pub with the hands, and maybe that will be our immediate downfall and death. But the children can't leave the glade, but what if they had no choice because a spell ripped them from the glade?
Auntie's permission is the key.
Whatever spell we do to leave, right? If we take that to the Glen and use it there, would it take all them with us?
Well, their hands, perhaps.
The spell has transported the pub in its entirety every time. I am concerned that we would perhaps transport the pub without us in it.
And also the forest and Auntie.
Or would it be leaving the pub behind?
It's a tricky bit. We could attempt it with one of our walking sticks. It just depends who wants to take the chance.
According to the spell, is there a way to do it where it would just take us, not everything else?
It's not specific.
The kicker.
But I mean, if we want to try to save the children, that's the best thing I can think of. Is bringing this hand, just one of the hands there, this one there, and lighting it, and going back.
But we destroy the other one.
I'm more comfortable trying with a walking stick, not the hand, because the hand is a known entity. We know it'll work. A walking stick, even though the ritual says it can be a trinket of some kind.
Well, Audrey, I don't think you or I should try with the walking stick because we still have an opportunity to get our hands back. But I think it would be wise for someone to try that.
I mean, we had to think about the spell, right? I mean, try is an interesting word. If you mess it up,
what happens then?
Supposedly that's that. I mean, I don't know what getting lost means, but that doesn't sound like a pleasant experience to me. So, I mean, whoever goes to do it with the children, they'll be gone from here, regardless of the outcome. It's not they're going to go do it there and then come back to the rest of us.
I think we should give her hands, and then once we're back in the real world, begin the fight again that these villagers have started to stop.
No, I disagree.
Do what?
I imagine that's like unleashing a caged snake, though.
And she could. What do you mean, get your hands back, right? I mean, she could attach your hands to her, but how do your hands attach back to you?
Yeah.
The same magic that made the stump seal up right away.
But,
Yeah, but
that's
her magic.
What incentive does she have? She has her hands back straight away. Like, there's
We have
nothing
her wood, but if
stopping
She
her.
has
but if she's-
no reason to fulfill her end of the bargain at that point.
unless we say give us their hands first before we give you yours.
But again, why would she do that? Then we would just
Yeah,
have our hands back and then we'd leave.
Yeah.
So probably, if we're going to do this, our best bet might just be we leave. Honestly, we leave. Leave them all here. Everyone's happy to the most part. The world is safe. You two are missing hands, but as you said, Audrey, you've got prosthetics, and people don't go missing anymore.
I agree.
Can't think of a better solution.
Let's go. Let's do the ritual.
Right. So you're going to choose to travel back
Return.
and do nothing else?
At this point, anything else we do has very significant downsides, at least if we do this. I do look at Howard though, and I'm like, but I leave that ring. I have a very bad feeling about us taking anything out of this place.
I think we need to use the ring to get out.
Well, we can still use a hand.
Or the walking stick.
We have multiple options. Besides, that ring is now my retirement plan.
I
So we're
mean,
not burning
what
it
if
for anything.
okay, she needs her hands to do magic or something like that. And we're debating whether the ring or the hands give some power. What if we, with the hands or the ring, can give permission to the children to leave the glen, acting as a sort of proxy?
We would have to.
Theoretically, it's possible, but we have no way of knowing how to do it or if it's going to work.
They would
And
have to
she
think that
didn't-
we're.
She didn't
auntie.
have those when she trapped them there.
That's true.
But when did this all happen?
5 years
5 years
ago.
ago.
When did
The order of the ritual was they bind her to the house, they bind her physically, they cut off her hands, and then they return home. So sometime between cutting off her hands and returning home, she managed to capture all of their children. So their children got brought here as well. So she didn't even have her hands when she captured the
Yeah,
children.
but she's too powerful to be given her hands back.
And I know you think it's your retirement plan, Audrey, but that ring, I just do not like the idea of taking it back. I don't.
But, one point though, if she's powerful enough to bring the children in without her hands, then us leaving does not help the situation. She'll just trap someone else.
no, she can only trap them here.
Obviously, she
Can't
wasn't able
leave.
to
She can't
anymore.
get more people.
If we destroy the hands, then she has nothing to use.
After they chopped her hands off, she brought the children here.
No. The children, when they brought her here, they brought their children here on accident.
Because they brought
At
the whole
same
entire area.
time. She did not bring the children here. The children were brought
She
here.
just managed to
as
trap
well.
Yeah,
them.
she
She
found
trapped the
the-
children while they were here. I don't know if she tricked them inside her hut or something, but she tricked the children,
I
or she
see,
trapped
I
the
see.
children in the glen.
Because they brought the entire area, not just themselves.
I see.
I mean, could we ask the adults to return and come back with us? Is there a reason to abandon them? They could never return here.
Would that not be cruel? We're damning them to a life without their children. Whereas here, they can live in a facsimile of life with their children.
the damage enough that what else can they do if we let them go back?
But I mean, we're making that decision for them right now?
They were
aren't we?
desperate enough to kidnap 5 people and bargain them off to a witch. I imagine they would be happier stuck here than stuck in reality.
And to be
Reality
completely
is no longer for them.
And to be completely frank, Dan, my sympathy for them, I lost it quite a long time ago, as Audrey said, when they kidnapped us.
I don't feel any better about it than you, Dan. But I feel that this is perhaps the nicest thing we can do.
It's none of our options are good. This is probably the least bad of them.
If the ritual went as we believe it did, where they and their children and the surrounding areas came with, then when we return, they and the surrounding areas will come with, except for the children who are bound.
Children and the witch, because she's bound with the ring
she's
of soul.
bound. If we could figure out how to unbind the children, then everyone could come back. But if we don't figure out, then
what if we
children
put
will
a
be
ring of
left here
salt
without
around
their
the Glen?
There's more than
would that cut off her energies to the Glen, do you think?
There's more to it than that, I thought.
Well, with binding her here, but I mean,
she's bound here.
What if we put a ring of salt around the Glen?
It might not be her hands, come to think of it, that's her power, but the ritual that involved cutting off her hands, that's what bound her here, and she cannot leave. It's not that she can't use her magic without her hands. Without her hands, she's stuck. She can't leave.
Right. I mean, nobody's been taken in the last 5 years while she's been here.
So, if we leave, take her hands with us, and then destroy them, she's never getting out. At least I think.
We don't know any answers.
Or at least, I'm not sure if destroying the hands would that break the spell, or would that actually make it so that it's unbreakable?
I say
I don't want to mess with the hand.
All right. So then we just leave the hands here and go. And leave everyone else here, including the parents, the children, and the witch. It's a shit option. I know it's a shit option. But at this point,
what was the date of the young woman's of the deaths, of the reports in the newspaper?
Anytime, really.
Yeah, it was anytime. Those were all over the place.
She comes back at all. She's allowed to leave, and this starts all over again.
Is a handful of children and their parents worth the disappearance of more ramblers, more children, more everywhere? What's stopping her from just taking the children again the second that we come back?
Was today
the solstice? Summer solstice, yes. It was when we got here. I'm not sure what day it is now.
The shortest night of the year.
Yes.
In other words, we're almost out of time. Yes.
So if we're going to do it at this point, let's just go. What else? Either we make a decision or it's made for us, and I, for one, want to make the decision for myself. It's awful.
Should we try with the ring one time? I'll put it on, and we can try to free the children. Perhaps something that is hers has the power to release them.
I suppose
try.
You could try it.
It's worth a try. That would you could go do that while we prepare for the ritual. We have to memorize some script, and
it's fairly simple. We just need our objects and a chant. You go do that. See if it works. If it doesn't, we'll see. It's like if it does, amazing. If it doesn't, we tried.
I put the ring on.
Okay.
And start heading out to the Glen.
All right. It takes you just a couple of minutes, and you get to the Glen.
And I take a child's hand and say, "Please come with me." And I try to lead the child to the pub.
Okay. As you approach the edge of the glen, the child stops dead in his tracks to a spot hidden.
I'm going to burn 11 luck to have a regular success.
Okay. The child suddenly looks a little afraid as you're bringing them, becomes reluctant to step into the tunnel of trees, as it were. But what you notice is that the trees are all moving in a kind of threatening manner, as if they will bring their heavy limbs crushing down on you if you attempt to take the child out of the glen.
Let's see. So the trees are her children, as we saw in the drawing, and they're keeping the children here. Is it are you afraid of the trees, child?
They won't let us leave the glen.
The trees are keeping them
Auntie has
away.
put them there to keep us all safe.
I see. Very good, child. Go play with your friends and your parent.
All right.
Go back in the pub and I tell them, yes. So she's trapped them not with any binding, but by using the trees to frighten them and to keep them there. Did the trees look like the drawing?
Could be, yeah. But their feet are buried in the ground.
So those trees, they're too dangerous. We go against their mother's will and they will kill us.
They're an axe. Let's chop them down. Let's burn them.
Do we
Let's
have
destroy
time?
them and free the children.
I
How would
imagine, I imagine if shared trees could have affected this pub, they would have done so in the 4 years preceding this event.
Burn.
I imagine inside these walls we are completely safe. We should do the ritual, get out of here, and retire to the Alps.
At this point, and time is running out and we don't have time to burn this forest.
Does
Howard, I'm
anybody have a
sorry.
Do we
pocket
have-
watch?
Is there anything like strong liquor in barrels?
I don't think. Well, there's beer in barrels, but beer is not flammable.
How did
There's lots of whiskey.
were the woods dry?
Not really. I
If
mean,
they're alive, they won't burn.
So the
without
ground was very
Charlie?
spongy. It's
Charlie?
very spongy ground.
If we burn the trees, those are her children, yes? One
well, maybe
for
we
one.
can get.
If we
may-
burn the trees, what is stopping her from killing the children?
But maybe we can get them out when we set the wood on fire. Use the panic.
But if the
But how to
fire
set-
spreads,
How to set the wood on fire? I mean,
I think this is
We
a
can't just
fantastical
drop
approach that is not
you
based
can't
in
just
reality.
drop a
Charlie.
match.
Charlie,
We haven't the time nor the resources. I think we just do the ritual, get out of here, go on with our lives, make a pact to never speak about it again. If somebody asks, I lost my arm in a snare. Done.
it's not like the aunt hunters that leave traps all over the place around here. It's terrible, I know.
Let's do the ritual.
Let's just go,
The
please.
ritual.
Okay.
But
where
to
are
leave,
you going to do it? Sorry.
we could. Why don't we just try? Why don't we just go to the glen and try to do the ritual there?
Agreed.
And what if the trees freak out and try and kill us all?
Then we run, and we do it here. But at least we tried.
Agreed. We have a chance to save them.
What are you going to do with the what are you using for the ritual if you're going to the glen?
The hand. It's the only thing that we know of that can take more
Yeah.
than just yourself.
I think we'll need to use the hand.
Bring your walking stick. I mean, if it goes wrong, then we use the walking sticks to get ourselves back.
And let me put some candle on this finger. That's
It's
pointing.
already there.
Oh, okay.
Well, you've been my friends for many years. We are a club. If we're going together, we go at once. Let's go.
Let's do
Let's
this.
go.
We've never traveled
Okay.
so far.
No, we certainly have not.
All right. So you're taking the hands. You've got the ring, I suppose.
Yep.
You've got your walking sticks. You've got the book
And the scrapbook.
and the scrapbook. Okay. And you walk out into the glade. The parents and the children are ignoring you. They're still enjoying the time they have. You go into the center of the glade, and you reread through. You've been reading through the ritual. What you need to do is you need to light the candle. You need to each contribute a drop of your blood, and then say the chant. Okay. It warns that there's going to be a price to pay for doing this. You don't know exactly what that means, but I do.
Are you sure we can't just do this with the walking stick and not with the candle?
So, if I imagine that the people who are being transported are the ones that distribute the blood, yes? So if we're going to try and transport all these kids out, we have to get blood from everyone.
I guess so.
But when they did it before, they didn't use all their kids. They just brought the entire area. Pretty sure they wouldn't have asked their kids to bleed for this.
All right, let's just do it with us then.
Why not?
So just the five of you?
Why not get a drop of blood from the kids as well?
I agree. At least try, and the parents.
Yeah.
If this works.
Yeah,
might as well ask.
Do a persuade roll to see if you can get them to
I
participate.
only have a lot of intimidate.
I can.
My
I try to.
my fast talk is better.
I have a regular success.
Ooh. No. Not me.
Some of them seem to halfway understand what you're talking about. They've done this before. They don't know if it'll work on the children because Auntie won't let them leave the glade. But
it's not magical.
They're
It's
going
just
to
the
try.
trees.
They're going to try.
Good.
All right. So you begin the ritual. I need each of you to subtract 18 magic points.
Oh, good
That's
heavens.
more magic than I have.
Do not
Going
have
into hit
that
points.
enough magic points.
If you do not have enough magic points, you must use hit points as well. One
Okay.
hit point for each magic point.
And you said 18?
Okay.
18.
Oh, that's
I'm taking
I am-
6 points of damage.
so
All
am
right, I'm
I.
at 4 health.
I am at 3.
I'm at 2. I take 10 points of damage.
Oh,
You also need to reduce your POW rolls, your POW, by a total of 90 amongst you. So you can
good
divide that up however you want.
Okay, well, 90 divided by 5 is
18.
18. Could be worse.
Sounds perfect to me. Let's do 18.
Okay.
each.
Oh, great.
So 42. Yeah.
Well, you're higher than I started.
Okay. And which object are you using as your focus? As your the hand, the ring, or the walking
The hand.
stick?
Does that have to be in both? It had to have been to both places.
It just has to have been in both places. It doesn't have to be the hand.
The only thing we know that's been in both places is the walking stick.
Is our walking sticks and the ring. It's been on the hand.
But we don't know. I don't know.
The book said a trinket
feel
would
insane.
work.
I imagine
we-
if
we
they
saw the
burn down
hand
to
in the
return,
pub.
right? So there's one yeah.
Yeah,
They
we
burn
use
down
the
to
hand.
return each time. So this naturally should definitely
There
work.
is one charge left. So we need to make sure it works.
Yeah, I said the hand.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Oh good. Oh good.
Focus
All
on
right.
the hand. We can do it.
I would like you all to do intelligence rolls.
22. That's a hard success. I'll spend that, get down to an extreme. if I need
11.
it.
Extreme.
Oh, but
I got a regular success.
I got a regular success, but I just remembered 10 hit points. That's a serious wound. Should
It's okay. So you're bleeding out of your eyes.
okay. I didn't go unconscious.
I failed my intelligence roll.
There is a kind of a whirlwind that wraps itself around you. It wraps itself around the parents that participated, but it doesn't seem to do anything with their children. It feels for a moment like you're being lifted off the surface of the planet and flung into outer space. And a moment later, you sort of tumble out of the air in front of the glade where there is no longer there's no longer an inn, and there's no longer a house. The few parents that come through with you just go stark raving nuts. Their sanity is probably at this point reduced completely to zero because they had to do everything that you did. They lost just as many sanity points and everything else.
And that was the 5th time for them.
You can all do sanity rolls.
31
I succeeded.
passed.
Regular success.
Fail. Not by a lot though.
Those of you who
02.
succeeded, do a 1d6. Those of you who failed do a 1d8.
Not great, but I'll
lost
take it.
4.
1, 2,
I
3,
also lost 4.
4, 5.
Anybody lose more than
6.
5? 6.
I lost 6
Short-term madness, I'll take it.
for a total of 8.
Well, I think those of you who lost more than 5, the weight of the fact that you just condemned all of those people and their children to being trapped there with Auntie, there's nothing saying that she's not going to do horrible things to them forever now that they're trapped there with her and she can't get out. The hands that you have with you wither like almost to dust as you're
They're
standing there
destroyed
holding them.
anyway.
Nothing happens to the ring. And your walking sticks are fine too. And you have to live with yourself from that point on. And that's pretty much the end of the story.
As we're walking out of the glade, those who also got the, sanity fail, I might be leaning on you and crying as we're leaving.
Well, denial's a powerful thing. We stumbled across some kind of hallucinogenic mushroom in the woods. None of that was real. Good day to you all.
Complete nonsense.
My hand is still gone.
My hand got caught in the snare. It's hidden out in the...
I don't know what happened to your hand. There's no way any of what we just experienced was real.
Yeah,
that's impossible.
Never had hands.
Complete hogwash. Yeah, I grew up without a hand. That's why I have so many prosthetics
in the
antique shop. Yeah.
I'd say properly, none of you can get over the fact that you did exactly what you did. You saved yourselves and sacrificed a whole bunch of children.
Hey, it was the nice thing to do. We trapped them with their parents.
But she's also trapped, and no one else is going to be taken. So
we did the great good thing.
Were they even real children?
Nah, they're not real kids. It's
very hard to convince himself that it wasn't.
None of it happened. That is exactly what I did.
It eats at him every night while he tries to sleep.
I am completely convinced children don't even exist. There's nothing like a child.
I'm crushed because I know what we did.
I'm depressed. I probably honestly, Howard, you and me probably take up drinking.
Yeah. Look, in my notes, I've written I feel awful, and I've underlined it.
All right. So, Auntie is a priestess of Shub-Niggurath.
And they were dark youngs.
They were dark young, and she had lived there for eons. And they found a way to trap her by cutting off her hands and sending her to some other planet. They called it the Devil Realm, whatever. What she did was she sent some of her dark young in that moment to snatch all their children and grab them and bring them to the glade. So that was her bargaining chip. She wanted her hands back. She specifically wanted the ring as well. So there's a number of ways the story can go. Actually, quite a few ways. If you bring her hands back to her with the ring, then she will let you go. She will let the children go, and she will let all of the people go back. She'll transport you all back, but she will also transport herself and her forest of dark young right back where they were before, to the area near where the witch elm was. So she'll be back. If you bring her hands, this is what happened when I played it. We brought her hands back without the ring, because we decided to use the ring as our focal point, getting back and forth. She takes the hands, and immediately her hands, when she's wearing, they sever, and they crawl across the table to where you guys are, and they reattach without any pain or anything like that. She reattaches her own hands, and at some point then she looks down and she's like, "Where's my ring? You're trying to swindle me." And she sicks all of the dark young on you. You might get out of the forest in time and get back to the pub and say the ritual and be teleported back home. Also, that will break the children's bind and the parents, so that once she has her hands back, they'll be able to leave. Not all of them will get out because of the trees, but some of them will. If you attempt to leave, you attempted to leave with those objects, that gave you an advantage. If you had attempted to leave without any of the objects, you would have had to have passed an intelligence roll or be lost forever in hyperspace or whatever it is. The best one is if you had attempted to leave and you had all failed, and at least one of you has a critical fail, an epic failure, Or if you try to push the roll and you fail, the entire planet is teleported back to Earth and crashes with Earth and destroys everyone.
That's so cool.
Which
Amazing.
I was almost going to do when you tried to do the ritual in the glade and bring some of the children. It could have pulled the whole planet along with it. But I thought,
and none of us failed the intelligence roll anyway.
right, you guys all passed. None of you had a catastrophic failure. You could have also tried to kill Auntie. Addison was a little more than a puppet at this point, because all of them had traveled back and forth 5 times, so their brains were fried. But he would have tried to defend her. He would have been easy enough to dispatch, and you might have been able to kill her. But then all of the Dark Young would wake up and they would try to kill you. You still could have maybe gotten away, at that point, at least some of you. Everybody got away except me. I got trapped by the trees, and I then tried to make a deal with Auntie to get the ring back. And she's like, "I'm sorry, love. It's just too late." Squished me.
And so basically, we probably, we went either, we tell ourselves it was greater good, but it was also fairly selfish. We were just like, bye.
I think we made the most rational decision based on the information we collected. There's no way we could have trusted her. None.
Yeah. But we had no reason to trust her, unfortunately.
You you managed all to get away. It's just now that you've got to live with the fact that
we've
condemned all those children, possibly to a fate worse than death, because she was only being tolerant because she had a bargaining chip. Now she's trapped there forever. And
again, we keep talking about them like they're real children. It's just a hallucination.
But,
we definitely made a devil's bargain.
But honestly, the only reason Patty can sleep at night is like no one else will go missing. None of this will come back to Earth.
Yeah, we did the right thing.
And she's trapped forever.
Some could argue that Auntie is just a force of nature, and people are supposed to go missing in the woods. So.
They'd be wrong.
I like that interpretation. But also, we trapped force of nature, not here, so it's not our problem now.
So, we pulled off a moment of awesome, but it sucked to do it.
Yeah.
I want to say, because this is kind of important and it's really good. This story was written by Alan Carey, and it's in the Miskatonic repository. This got an award for being one of the best written scenarios because it's minimalist. It's very logically laid out. There's not a lot of stuff telling you what's going on, just the basic minimum. It's only really 4 pages long, and everything is very clear right there in front of you. So it's really a good one. He's written a number of things that are really, really good.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and finish, and then we can chat about it a little bit. Our players included Riley Kruger, Morgan Llewellyn, Steve Anderson, Pascal Breitenfeld, and Jen Overtaz, with myself as the keeper of the secrets. We have a Discord server where you can chat with our other members. You can set up private games and learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.